The Galactic Council's orbital station hummed with the usual cacophony of 100 different species, conducting trade, diplomacy, and the occasional underhanded deal. In the lower market district, where the lighting was dimmer and security patrols less frequent, a young human woman named Sarah Chen browsed through stalls of exotic goods. She was unremarkable by human standards. Average height, lean build, dark hair tied back in a practical ponytail. But to the galaxy at large, she was a walking miracle, a survivor of Earth, the legendary Deathworld that had somehow spawned a sentient species. Krathix, a Venshali merchant with scales that shimmered blue under the artificial lights, watched her with undisguised contempt. His species had evolved on a garden world where the most dangerous predator was roughly equivalent to Earth's rabbits. The Venshali had joined the galactic community 2,000 years ago, and in that time they had built a reputation for shrewd business and an inflated sense of superiority. Deathworlder, Krathix hissed as Sarah picked up a data crystal, examining it with interest. Put that down. Your kind breaks everything you touch. Sarah looked up, her expression neutral. I'm just looking. The price seems fair. Fair? Krathix's throat sac inflated with indignation. Nothing is fair when your primitive species contaminates it with your presence. Do you know what we call humans in our language? Kreshokmal. It means violent children. Other merchants and customers began to take notice. A Quilarian floated closer, its gas-filled body pulsing with curiosity. Two Methir traders, their insectoid bodies clicking with anticipation, paused their conversation. Sarah set the crystal down carefully. I don't want any trouble. Trouble? Krathix laughed, a sound like grinding stones. That's all your species brings. You come from a world so hostile that your own sun burns your skin, where your weather can tear apart buildings, where your oceans can swallow cities whole. He stepped closer, towering over her by nearly 2 feet. And yet you have the audacity to walk among civilized species as if you belong. We were invited to join the council, Sarah said quietly, but her muscles had tensed imperceptibly. Years of evolution on Earth had given humans something most species lacked, an acute awareness of danger and an instinctive response system honed by millennia of dodging predators. A mistake that will be corrected, Krathix sneered. He reached out and grabbed her wrist, his grip tight enough to bruise any other species. Perhaps someone needs to teach you Deathworlders some respect. Sarah's heart rate barely increased. Pain was a constant companion on Earth. Every human child learned to endure scraped knees, bumped heads, and minor injuries that would hospitalize most galactic citizens. Let go, she said, her voice level. Instead, Krathix raised his other hand and slapped her across the face. The sound echoed through the suddenly silent marketplace. For Krathix, it was meant to be humiliating, a disciplinary action one might use on an unruly child. In Venshali culture, such a slap was the height of insult but caused no real harm. For Sarah, it was assault. What happened next took exactly 1.4 seconds. Sarah's free hand shot up and caught Krathix's wrist in an iron grip. Her Deathworld reflexes, evolved to snatch falling objects and deflect attacks, operated at a speed that seemed supernatural to species from gentler worlds. She pivoted her body, using leverage and momentum, concepts intimately understood by creatures who had to survive Earth's unforgiving gravity. Krathix found himself flying through the air, his own weight and her precise application of force sending him in a perfect arc. He crashed into his stall with a sound of splintering wood and breaking merchandise. Before he could even comprehend what had happened, Sarah was standing over him. She hadn't drawn a weapon. She hadn't needed to. One hand was raised, fingers curled into a fist, that uniquely human weapon that delivered focused kinetic energy through a compact striking surface. On my world, Sarah said, her voice still calm but with an edge that made several nearby aliens take involuntary steps backward. We have a saying, don't start none, won't be none. Krathix stared up at her, his throat sac deflating in what his species expressed as fear. His scales had turned pale gray. In his 2 centuries of life, he had never experienced violence. Not real violence. The theoretical kind discussed in historical texts, perhaps, but nothing like this. This immediate, overwhelming demonstration of physical superiority. Sarah's hand remained raised, steady as a mountain despite her elevated heart rate. I came here to buy supplies. I showed you respect. You chose violence. She lowered her fist slowly. Consider this a lesson about Deathworlders. We don't look for fights. We've seen enough death on our world to last 1,000 lifetimes, but we will always finish them. Station security arrived moments later, their weapons drawn but uncertain. The crowd had backed away, creating a wide circle. A Methir trader stepped forward, its translator clicking rapidly. The Venshali attacked first, it said. We all witnessed it. The human showed remarkable restraint. Other voices joined in agreement. In a galaxy where physical confrontation was rare and shocking, they had all seen Krathix commit the unthinkable, initiating violence. And they had seen a human respond with precisely calibrated force, ending the threat without causing permanent harm. Sarah lowered her hand completely and looked at the security officers. I'd still like to buy that data crystal, she said, if someone else is selling it. As she walked away to complete her transaction, whispers spread through the marketplace like wildfire. The story would be told and retold, growing with each iteration, but the core truth would remain. A Venshali had mocked and struck a Deathworld girl. He never saw it coming. She had ended him before he could react, not killed, but utterly defeated. And in doing so, she had reminded the galaxy of something they kept forgetting. Humans didn't evolve to conquer the stars. They evolved to survive Earth. Everything else was just a bonus. In the weeks that followed, Krathix recovered physically, but his reputation never would. And Sarah Chen became something of a legend, the quiet human who proved that Deathworlders didn't need to boast about their capabilities. Their very existence was proof enough.